Well, hey everybody, welcome to my Halloween show. I've got 3 werewolves now. I have already done a video on the American Werewolf in London guy, this one here, and I've done a video on the Howling guy, this awesome one here. My new one, of course, you see in the middle, the classic Wolfman as played by Lon Chaney in the 1940s. Those movies were special to me among all these werewolf movies. I mean, you've got 2 classic 80s werewolves here, and those are 40 years after this one. Back then they just did makeup, and I think there was a movie or 2 before this one. I think maybe Werewolf of London with Henry Hull was an earlier one. I don't know what the first werewolf movie was. But these were classics. They always were black and white. When I was a kid, 60s and 70s, I'd go over to my cousin Mike's house, and Friday night, Saturday night, whenever it was, they'd have the midnight horror movies. We didn't have video back then. We didn't have a choice. And every now and then it would be a werewolf movie or be a mummy movie. I love the Mummy. In fact, NECA, do a Prince Chorus figure, right? You've really shown love to Boris Karloff. Let's see some Lon Chaney Jr. action in that mummy stuff, as you've done here. And by the way, the sculpting on all 3 figures is beyond superb. It's incredible sculpting. I really want to commend that, and I love that this one has a working mouth. Yeah, he's awesome in that way. I love that. And this one, having seen it in person and touched it, I was at Bob Burns' basement in 2006 and got to see that. That was before the restoration, by the way. That they have restored it since then. When I saw it, the rubber had dried out and was cracking and drying. In fact, I touched a piece of gum over his molar, not molar, but the big tooth there on his left side, and it cracked, and I went and I ran away. I didn't want to be seen, but it was all breaking and cracking and all that. They've since restored him, so he's beautiful again. But we've talked about those 2. Let's talk about the Lon Chaney Wolfman, the classic, the guy that really made the Wolfman thing happen. I love these movies. I like all of them. I was a nut about them as a kid. I liked, the first story where you had the character was bitten, and you had Maleva, the gypsy woman, would always read the little curse thing to him and all that. And I love that stuff. I grew up on that. That was mother's milk for me. That was the stuff I loved. And that continued on into Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, of course, and House of Frank, and House of Drac. Abbott and Costello. In fact, here's something interesting a lot of people may or may not be aware of, that the Lon Chaney Wolfman is the only Wolfman that I know of that was actually healed, that was cured in the movies. These other guys, they had their sentence, they paid their penance, and they did whatever, or they were killed or shot. But Lon Chaney died 20 times over, but he was healed before the major movie story was out. And I always kind of liked that. There's an arc. So collect the old Universal movies if you haven't, or watch them. They're a hoot. They're fun to watch. They're 1940s. They're clean. They're family friendly. I mean, you can watch them now. They're G-rated. But back then, they were just awesome to me. I loved them. And I love the makeup. The great Jack Pierce. I mean, he did Frankenstein and all those mummies, all those. I mean, look at this. This is one of Jack Pierce's greatest works. And I want to say something about that. It is an absolutely accurate sculpt. I'm not sure who this is. If this is Trevor Grove, Trevor, if you see this video at all, my God, I still love your work. I have so many examples of it. I'm very, very, very fortunate to have been able to collect quite a bit of Trevor's sculpts, and I think that he is a genius in our media And I really do respect what it is, because every time he sculpts something, it looks like him. It's just magnificent work. Now, this was the black and white Wolfman. It's the only one I could find. I held the color one in my hands at Walmart a year ago. Didn't buy it, much to my chagrin. But this year, thanks to it being Halloween, they have a lot of horror figures at Walmart, and they're coming to Ross and to other stores, and they're re-releasing. They got a sticker on them. They're $24 now, not $35 or more. And I snagged a couple of figures, and I dang sure grabbed this. It was the black and white version with 3 heads and the cane, which the cane head I touched at Bob's house. The head of the cane, which is the silver piece actually that kills, quote unquote, this guy in the movie, his father uses it and kills him. I've held the headpiece. Bob Burns, it was the first thing Bob ever collected in his movie collection, and I've held that. So I've touched this guy, I've held the headpiece of the cane, and I can't say I kicked it, but the head of this was underneath a Sulaco model that was hidden in the corner of Bob's basement. So I have been in proximity to, touched, or otherwise seen something from all 3 Wolfman movies, which is kind of cool. At least the 3 of my favorites. I have others. I like Dog Soldiers. I like the remake of The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro. Oh my God, that is a cool movie. I've got to get a version of him. In fact, that would complete this for me, because those are my 4 favorites. Maybe 5 if you count Dog Soldiers. But shout out to anybody that's a big fan of this. You know who you are. Those of you in England that collect werewolves know. But it's Halloween time, and we need to respect these classics and watch them and watch these things. But look at the old Universals. They never age, they never tire, and they're always awesome. I'm so grateful to have this figure now amongst my collection. So hit me with a like, please. I need it. Subscribe if you have not. I may have something coming up that you'll like. And comment away if you have anything to comment or add to. And go from there. And by the way, if it wasn't Trevor Grove that sculpted any of this, to you I thank also. I don't know who you are, but I'd love to know. I didn't mean to just single Trevor out when there's 3 fantastic sculpts here. But whoever did them, you're great. NECA, you're knocking them out of the park. Thank you. You're still doing a great job. Appreciate it. I guess I'll see y'all next time. Take care.